Hi, and welcome to Trey Runs Wild Edition. So I went down to a race in southern Minnesota this weekend, and as I pulled into the parking place, I got the van stuck. And that's the bad thing about a two-wheel drive van, is they're so light in the back end that they don't have much traction. And unfortunately, I've been stuck several times, once to the tune of a $150 tow bill to get me out of the woods. So I've been thinking about putting a winch on the front of it, and what I did was I put a 2-inch receiver hitch onto the front bumper of the van, and my plan is to put a winch. And hopefully, if I get stuck again, easy peasy, winch myself out, save myself some money. So what I did was I went down to our Northern tool shop, and I picked up these two items today. And the first one is simply just a winch plate that mounts into a 2-inch receiver, and the winch bolts right onto it. Portable, you can put it on the front end of the truck, on the back end of the truck. So depending on where you're stuck, hopefully you're gonna find something to anchor off to pull you out. This is normally $99 at Harbor Freight. I actually got it on sale for $59.99 today because of an online special. But I did find a very similar one that actually looks exactly the same on Amazon, and on Amazon for $60 regular price. So I'll put a link in that in my description in case you guys want to check that out. I also picked up a 9,000 pound DC winch, and I really think that's going to be heavy enough for my purposes. I don't plan on burying the van up to the axles ever. It's usually I'm stuck in about 3-4 inches of mud and I just can't get traction to get going. So in the past I've used a high lift jack, but that gets a little dangerous, and quite frankly it's a pain in the butt getting down in the mud and trying to deal with that as well. So normal price on this is $299. However, I got a pretty good special on this and saved $75. And then of course, if you have the $20 Northern Tools coupon that they normally put out, you can get a pretty good price on this. So I'm going to unbox these, show you what it looks like, and guide you through the installation process, and we'll see if we can hook up the winch. Okay, and also today I picked up this truck winch mounting plate. Again, the plan is to just hook this into the front 2-inch receiver or the rear 2-inch receiver so that I have some portability to the winch. So let's take a look at what comes in this package. It looks pretty simple. We have the directions, of course, and it looks like we have a couple side plates that we'll have to bolt on. I think that goes on the side. We have the mounting hardware. Again, the opposite side plate. And then we have the mounting plate itself. And this isn't super heavy. It's got some heft to it. It really feels like it's pretty well built. I would guess this weighs about 25 pounds as well. Simple plug and play for your 2-inch receiver hitch. You know, you maybe wouldn't even have to put the side brackets on. I'm not sure if that's a mandatory or just more of an option, but mounting plate, and is held in place with 4 bolts. So far it's pretty intuitive. The one thing I don't like about Northern tool stuff is their instructions are normally horrendous, and sometimes it can be kind of hard to figure out how to put some of this stuff together. As you can see, this is adjustable. You can have the arms position in different angles. Poor river dogs out there in the snow. Em won't let him in the house, but she said if we can get 1,000 subscribers that he could be a house dog. No, I'm just kidding. I've given him a chance to come in, but he's waiting for me to come out and play, so we'll see if he wants to come in and say hi to you guys. River, do you want to come in? You want to come in the shop? Come on. Come. What? Well, go find your Frisbee. Go get your toy. Go get your toy. Okay, so I've unboxed everything in the winch, and you have a couple of pieces that I think everybody's going to recognize, and then there's a couple of pieces that I wasn't really prepared for. So the first thing of note is the solenoid block, and this attaches right onto the top of the winch, and as you can see, it's a plug and play for the remote. Just plugs right into here, and that way you can take the remote on or off depending on if the winch is in operation. You can just store it in your vehicle in the meantime. As you can see, we have some ground wires and hot, negative, and I'm really not sure where all these wires are even going to go. We're going to have to look at the direction. Obviously, we have a couple grounds and hots, but we'll take a look at the directions and then see where we need to go with that. Looks like we also have, comes in the box, is another ground to the battery. So that's nice. I thought I was going to have to buy those, but apparently it comes with. That's going to save me some money. Also, we have a circuit breaker. I wasn't expecting, of course, we have the hook, we have the fair lead, we have the mounting hardware, and as well we have the remote. It's just very simple in and out, not an on or off. Pretty much what you see is what you get. Easy plug and play 4-pin receptacle. Starting at the front of the winch, we also have the winch guide, the cable guide. Looks like it has left and right lateral rollers, and as well up and down or vertical control rollers. It's very heavy, to note. I would guess this probably weighs about 25 pounds alone. And here's the meat and potatoes. So this is the 9,000 pound Ironton model winch. Like I said, I got it at Northern Tool. I got it on sale for $225. It was $75 off. Then if you have the additional $20 coupon, you can get it down for about almost $200, which is a pretty good price on a 9,000 pound winch. And 9,000 pounds should be enough for towing recovery on a pickup, SUV, that style of vehicle, as long as you're not buried up to the axles. If it's just a light pulling you out of a couple inches of mud, this should be plenty for the job. It should be noted that this is pretty heavy. I think the winch total is about 100 pounds, and I would guess this unit right here is probably about 75 pounds. This isn't something that you're just going to throw around and wing on, wing off. It's going to take a little bit of muscle to get this mounted and unmounted. All right, so I left the bottom brackets just kind of finger tight here, just because I'm not sure how we're going to want these arms in the final position. So now for the heavy work. Like I said, it's about 75 pounds. So watch your fingers putting it in here. It's not light. So it might be easier to kind of tilt the whole bracket on its side so I can get access to the mounting holes. And it looks like we are going to line up. So that's good news. I'm going to have to use the hardware from the winch that came with the actual winch itself. So it looks like it's going to be easier to mount the fair lead roller before I put the actual winch into the platform. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I've got my 2 sets of bolts and nuts and washers for that. Okay, so something I wanted to mention to you guys on this mounting hardware is they give these square carriage type bolts. And what they do is when you first look at the winch, you wouldn't really necessarily see what to do. The bolt will not engage, but actually there's an opening on this side, and that carriage bolt goes inside of that opening. So that's what's going to catch your bolt when you come in from underneath. And because of the way this is positioned, you have to put those nuts in those legs first before you tighten the first one down. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to lift it up to get the other bolts in. So just kind of something to be aware of when you're putting yours together. As you can see, you can mount this solenoid kit right on the ridge rails of the winch, or if you wanted to mount it somewhere else, you could do that as well. But it is made just to kind of snap right on and then be tightened up with these 2 Phillips head screws. Yep. You inspected my work, huh? Does it look like it's pretty good? This black cable to the battery attaches underneath the bottom of the solenoid kit, or excuse me, underneath the winch. So the directions in order of cables tells me that I'm supposed to connect this one to this. Well, obviously that doesn't make much sense because this has to go to the circuit breaker. So once again, I'm not going to follow the directions exactly. I'm going to do what actually makes sense. And the final thing to really assemble at this point, other than hooking it up to the battery, is I did install the circuit breaker onto the hot, and then this will go onto the battery terminal post for positive, and of course the battery negative. However, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a quick connect in between, so I'll end up cutting these 2 wires, and that way I can just plug and play, quickly take the winch on and off the vehicle, quick plug it in, and make it truly portable. Sure, it's a portable winch, but it's not really very portable if you have to disconnect it from the battery every time you want to put it away. So. And there you have it. As you can see, there's not a lot of space to run this through. All I needed to do was get to the positive terminal, so I actually have way more than I need. So we'll thread that back down through. So as you can see, I have the positive and the negative both hooked up, and I'm just running the cables through the engine compartment down through the grill so I can hook them into the winch itself. Okay, well, I still have to install the circuit breaker, but the amount of room that I had to work with here was limited in this positive terminal. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to cut the positive, and I'm going to have to splice that into the positive wire. All right, well, let's see if this thing works, eh?